Welcome to Real Talk episode 22. I am Brian Rose, and we are here at London Real Studios with my next door neighbor, Max Keiser, host of the Keiser Report, who will be also giving this episode in sign language. Max.
Oh, hi, Brian.
Welcome back.
How's it going?
It's going awesome.
That's great.
Welcome back to the studios.
Thank you.
Before we get talking about politics...
Are we finally live?
We're live.
We've been talking about pancakes for half an hour now, and I thought that was the show.
If you've been on Facebook Live, you got the pancake business model from Max Keiser.
Yes.
That's also on Periscope.
Yes.
You also got...
the cat piss story.
The cat piss story and
Yes.
the difference between parkour and free running.
Parkour, yeah, that's where the action was.
From the man who lived in Paris.
Yeah, I lived
Now,
there for many years.
Before we get started talking about politics and Bitcoin and Trump, tell me about Prince.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. He was 57 years old.
Yeah.
What did that man mean to you, the musician Prince?
Well, I, like everybody, have gone back and looked at a lot of stuff, we may have missed over the years. Certainly aware of his career for many years, but two things stand out, obviously, that are remarkable. The 2007 Super Bowl in Miami, where he did the halftime show, considered to be the greatest halftime show ever in the history of the Super Bowl.
Really?
Yeah, where it was raining, like torrential rains, and he came out and did a few songs, including Purple Rain. And before, before the action, before the show, we find out that the producer had a conversation with Prince and said, you're going to go out there with 4 electric guitars. It's raining. It's really hard. And his response was, "Can you make it rain harder?" So it just gave an insight into somebody who he used this freak rainstorm to his advantage and just rose above it and just did this remarkable performance. Then the second one was Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee show.
Yeah, 2004.
Yeah.
He stole the show.
For My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yeah, doing a cover as a tribute to Clapton? No, someone there.
George Harrison.
George
Harrison, of course. And the remarkable thing about that video, and I have yet to find anyone to explain this adequately, is at the end of his solo, where he just steals the show, he throws his guitar up in the air and it just disappears.
Oh, really? It doesn't even land?
It just disappears. And so people are like, even Matt Taibbi, I saw tweeting about this, like, where does it go? Where did it go? One of the greatest investigative journalists of all time, Matt Taibbi, is wondering, where did that guitar go?
Yes, Prince was an original, 5'2".
Yeah.
I saw him in London 7 years ago when he played the O2 Arena for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I had tickets to the Bourne Supremacy premiere, and he walked in 5'2" in heels with 2 super tall girls on each arm, and he was purely original.
Yeah.
And the man was competitive, and he was a showman, just like you, Max
And an
Keiser.
underrated guitarist.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And how do I know that? Because I watch Mojo.com. Oh. And they have the 10 most underrated guitarists of all time. Number 1 is Prince.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think he's overrated. No, I think he's rated. As a guitarist, right. Because he sang and he was all these other things.
He's an incredible showman, and so the guitar playing was kind of eclipsed.
Right. The New York Times wrote an article and they said, you didn't know what his sexuality was, but it didn't care, and it meant something different to every person. And I think that was cool about him.
He was overt and therefore threatening. With his sexuality, it was very overt, but it wasn't clear where it was coming from.
Yeah, I think he empowered other people,
Well, the whole era of transgender kind of androgynous performance artists that have come since then obviously owe a big debt to Prince. You've got Lady Gaga and others, the long list of people who are playing this role that's, the sexuality is not clearly defined.
Yeah.
Like David Bowie, I guess. I mean, he had that otherworldly, from another planet aura about him, which was kind of cool. And I think that's only going to grow. I think in death, his reputation will grow. We're finding out a lot of stuff about him now.
Yeah, I'm reading all these articles I didn't know about him being super competitive, about him doing these things on stage, a lot of controversy. He had back and forth with Michael Jackson. He was like, I'm the guy with the high voice with my own nose, and all these things. But he was pure original. He stayed in Minneapolis, Paisley Park Studios. He was known for championing the state. And he was just an original, right?
Well, the whole rock and roll business has changed, because with the boy group era, it became very corporatized.
Homogenized, corporatized,
and,
right.
It had the MTV era. Before MTV, you could have bands like Steppenwolf, where all the members were ugly, but they went into rock and roll to get laid. Yeah. Then there was MTV, where suddenly those guys were pushed out, and everyone had to look gorgeous. And then we went into a post-MTV period, which we're still kind of in now. And Prince could be kind of one of the last guys who were go back to an era before everything became super corporatized. But obviously the amount of enjoyment he's given people around the world is just incredible.
He will be sorely missed. He was 57. Does that
Yep.
does that make you think, how many years do I have left? I better get things going. Because I thought about that.
Yeah, well, I actually thought about, well, how old am I?
How old are you, Max Keiser?
And I was like, I'm 56.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it just seems, it goes by fast. That's why when you come to London Academy and learn how to achieve the greatest possibility in your life, you won't be 56 years old sitting in a chair like this, reminiscing about rock stars whom you know nothing about. Don't let this happen to you. Enroll in London Academy today and become an entrepreneurial superstar.
Max Keiser has been fascinated by our London Real Academy.
Yeah, I saw the ad for the first time.
For the Business Accelerator, you were excited. You clicked through, you watched our videos.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you should join.
I had no idea this was going on in my neighbor's house.
Right next
now I know
door.
why all everybody in the mailing list for this building are so upset with you.
Yes.
Every week they get a mail like, why is this shouty American in this flat next door doing all this crazy radio and TV? How did this happen? How did we let these Americans in? I'll tell you a funny story about that.
And there's a line outside always when you go to my door, right? They're trying to get into the Business Accelerator program.
I clobber those people.
Max Keiser will be joining our Business Accelerator program.
Yeah, well, me and Dan Pena.
Right.
Dan Pena, whose secret to success is calling everyone a cunt. He says, you're a cunt, I'm a cunt, you're a cunt, give me $1 trillion. That's his secret to success. I have a much more direct route to becoming a billionaire. As I explained to you earlier, open a pancake restaurant.
Oh, we're not going back to the pancakes.
Oh, no more pancakes. Okay.
Not go back to pancakes. But I like that. All right. So Prince was an original. Act now before you die. He died in an elevator, so it could happen to anyone, right?
Sure. Well, that's the thing about death. Yeah. It waits for no one.
It just happens.
It happens, baby.
All right, there you go. Max Keiser on music. That's never happened before.
Right. And I'm one of the least qualified to speak on this, but there you have it. I gave you my thoughts.
Okay, good. Time's limited, so I want to ask you
Yes.
a couple things. All right, we're going to get to Bitcoin. We got to talk a little bit about that because we missed
Why
it last
not?
time. No, we will. But I first want to quickly...
Why don't you talk about Bitcoin?
No,
are you afraid of Bitcoin?
No, I
Is
want...
it gonna, why are you deferring? Why are we waiting?
God damn it. We're not... First, I want to just clear up the air. What's happening
Clear the air.
with your good friends, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in the States? Let's just get that out of the way so we can move on.
This is called foreshadowing.
Okay.
This is a prop I'll be using shortly, okay?
Oh, Raspberry Pi. I know these
Raspberry
guys.
Pi.
Yeah.
If Prince were alive today, he'd be singing about Raspberry Pi instead
right.
of a Raspberry Beret. I'm pretty
beret,
sure I
okay.
can make that statement in a completely fallacious way.
Yeah, okay. Do you know the company Kano? They make
Yes, they make this whole kit.
I had their CEO interviewed on Silicon Reel, so yeah.
Yeah, this is the future. But as I said, I'm foreshadowing,
foreshadowing.
now. We're not actually talking about that now. We're talking
about
what?
Trump, Clinton. Just give us the 5 minutes. What's happening? Who's bowing out of the race? Sanders still there? Is Trump going to win? Is he going to pull it off?
Last time I was here, I said Trump would probably win the nomination, which now looks to be a certainty.
It does?
Sure.
The Republican Party aren't going to box him out somehow.
Oh, okay. I mean, if it's done based on a number of delegates, then he's now a mathematical certainty. It would appear, getting very close. If there is some last-minute shenanigans at the convention, et cetera, we'll wait to see that. But that would be a remarkable political story. So we're kind of waiting to see how that plays out. Okay. So then it's going to be Trump. It looks like Hillary at this point. She just did very well here in this last number of primaries.
Yeah.
So now you've got Trump and Hillary, and so that looks like the matchup. I talked to James Rickards yesterday, who just has a new book out called The New Case for Gold. He wrote Currency Wars. He wrote The Death of Money. He's a very respected guy, and he told me that Hillary's legal problems are going to be a huge factor.
To the emails and these kind of things?
Yeah, she's got a lot of problems with her emails and her whole legal baggage that she's carrying.
Okay.
He's predicting that she's bumped out and they parachute in Joe Biden at the last minute.
Okay. And what about running mates? Who's Hillary grabbing? Who's Trump grabbing? Do we know?
I have no idea. I don't know. So Trump versus Hillary, who I think that Trump ultimately would win that contest against Hillary.
Wow. Apparently the Democrats are just waiting for him to blow himself up in a certain way or to go a little bit off message. But he's apparently been reining things back in a little bit and been a little bit more strategic. I don't know. It's fascinating.
Look, America is a country where anyone can become president. And there's a system of checks and balances once somebody becomes president. There are the three basic, institutions of the U.S. government. Then you have the press, the free press, which is the fourth estate. And then you have the Second Amendment, which is a key checks and balances in case there's a monarchical attempt to kill the Constitution. Then it's up to the people via the Second Amendment to take back their power.
That's you can have guns.
That's right.
Right, to take
That's
back
a
power.
check
so
and
those
balance.
are all the checks and balances. And
There's-
what's the fifth estate?
Well, the fifth number, the fourth estate, the fifth estate is this flat, actually. This is where we're renting this at on Airbnb. When Brian's not doing the show, people are living here for 20 minutes at a time. And then they move them right out, and they go right down to the pancake restaurant, and they come back, and it's
Go
like
to
the
the
whole
business
thing.
accelerator.
Then they go to the Accelerator, they learn about pancakes, they come back here, Airbnb, and then they come back, then they do the show. So it's all one big 360-degree spectrum
So the fifth estate
of opportunity.
The fifth estate is what? That was the movie about Assange and all the leaks and stuff like that.
No, you're thinking about Citizen 4.
No, I'm thinking about the
Citizen
fifth
4.
estate.
Oh, and I'm thinking about Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
You're talking about Julian Assange.
Yeah. So the fifth estate is that's a concept of all of this other information that's not the free press. Who knows?
It could very well be.
Okay. So the American model worked well. Speaking of that, Obama was here in town last week. Was it nice to have our president here? Do you think those checks and balances systems in America work in America?
Well, it's interesting because he made a comment about the vote coming up for whether or not to remain in the EU.
Right.
And the UK press went ballistic that he was interfering with politics here. And yet he's just expressing his opinion. What's remarkable about that is that free speech in this country is curtailed severely, and that folks don't have the same free speech that Americans have. And this is curtailed using various mechanisms, primarily the use of libel law in a way that chills free speech. In America, if the libel works, is that if I call you an asshole and you want to sue me for libel, you have to prove that I damaged you. In the UK, if I call you an asshole, I have to prove that I did not damage you.
Okay.
Which is virtually impossible to prove and very costly. Therefore, look at the result of this. Jimmy Savile. People knew for years he was committing heinous acts of pedophilia, but they did not say anything because there is no genuine free speech in this country. They would have been sued. And not only was he not prosecuted for hundreds of acts of pedophilia that was well known, they made him a knight. They knighted him. So and
that comes down to free speech. You think?
I think that's a key plank in discussing the culturally difference between the two. Anyway, getting back to Obama. Obama came here, made a speech, expressed an opinion that was not filtered, that was not authorized by the government, that didn't go on the official propaganda channel, the BBC, and the whole media landscape went into fits. And they can't believe it. They took a poll. How dare he comment on us? Meanwhile, I think he proved his point in saying this is such an insular backwater that to cut themselves off from the EU, you're talking about even becoming more of an inbred kind of, backwater, nonsensical place.
See, I walk around London and Britain, and I don't think I don't have free speech because I'm in this American mentality. But when I start thinking about it, there are certain things in this country you can't say. You can't also say things about the royal family. That's even extra off limits. And you have to be very careful,
I just did a poll on my Twitter where I said, basically, if I slap you in the face right now, if I did so in America, you would have the right not to press charges. If I slap you in the face right here in the UK, you don't have the right not to press charges because you, as a UK citizen, are a subject of the Queen, and the Queen's prosecution service would pursue action against you or against me, the provoker, regardless of what you thought, because you're a subject of the Queen. You're not a free citizen. There's no Constitution. There's no Bill of Rights. You've got, and look at this Hillsborough, the 96 Hillsborough, which is just now, after 28 years, coming to a resolution where they decide, they came out and they said the fans were not the perpetrators of this, the police, and it was the complete opposite. This is, again,
is this a free speech
for
issue,
28 years. Like Murdoch, his Sun newspaper and his Times newspaper, did they run that on the front page? It's a huge story. No, every other press did, because it's completely filtered press. These people, the problem with these people is that the crime in this country is that you're poor. If you're poor in this country, then the elites have the right to kick you in the face. There's in France, actually, there's an
by
old,
not reporting on, say,
and then if
a
you
Hillsborough
say,
accident.
and if you say no, they can step all over you. And if you complain, they'll say, well, you're libeling me, and then you go and you have to stump up for a case. and prove in a court that I, in fact, didn't libel you, which is like, well, you said I did, so therefore there's no case. There is no free speech. You can't have it. You can't have any kind of conversation. So therefore, it's restrictive, and it's not healthy.
Right.
And you have the prime minister is talking about this issue and saying things that are completely inappropriate for a prime minister to say, but he believes that I mean, I have to think about even what I'm saying, because there are people who do nothing but just sit all day watching to see when they can, because remember, the UK is a rentier economy. It's not an entrepreneurial economy.
Right.
People,
what's the first word? A what?
Rentier.
Rentier.
The rent seekers.
Okay, right.
So it's all about rent seeking. Entrepreneurialism is looked down on. It's rent seeking. You need no risk. I want to take no risk. I want to get money for nothing. I want to get the government to give me an opportunity to exploit the poor. I want to collect rent every month, and I don't want to work. That's pretty much the British mentality. The property speculation, rentier mentality, and no risk. Never take a risk. That's why they're not going to do this Brexit thing, because when they come to vote, they'll be like, wait a minute, this might cut into my free rent that I get as a rentier, bloodsucker. Then I'm not going to vote for it. I mean, I might have to work for a living, then just sit on my property that goes up 800 pounds every single day if you own a flat in London, doing nothing because of all the money that the Bank of England prints along with the central banks. No, I'm not going to work. Why would I work?
Take me back to the media. We're independent media here. We can stream whatever we want. I can say whatever I want. No one's looking over my back. You're a little bit different because you're on a broadcast medium where, you got to be careful. Those two things are going to collide, right?
I think they will collide. They are colliding, and we're seeing some, and I think Donald Trump, to get back to Trump, is an example of somebody who used independent media to break through. A lot of people were critical of independent media, like in America, for example, Alex Jones. Okay, Alex Jones has been on for 20, 30 years.
Good friend of yours.
He's a friend of mine. Yeah,
Infowars. He's been
Infowars.
He's been broadcasting forever, right?
Yeah, and most of what he talks about is exactly what you hear on every other network. But he's down in Texas, and he has his own particular style, and he's got his, he's like a good old boy in Texas. He doesn't say he's not a good old boy in Texas.
Him and Piers Morgan went off about gun control.
He's not like. Peter Jennings, ABC News, Peter Jennings, right? So he's just like a guy who's telling it like it is, and he covers most of the same stories. Donald Trump went on his show 3 months ago.
Infowars.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his popularity zoomed. People said, "Oh, that's the kiss of death." That guy, he's crazy. Meanwhile, he's now the front runner. He'd probably be the nominee. So those shows like that are busting loose. I mean,
right. But now the mainstream media loves Trump because they print money for him, right? For them.
Well, the mainstream media, as Les Moonves, head of CBS, said recently, that he's making us a lot of money. It might, according to Les, it could damage the country, but he didn't care because he's making money.
Right, and everyone is, because it's just a show. It's hard not to watch Trump.
Well, but the Constitution is idiot-proof. That's right, why the Constitution is designed the way it is. Any freaking idiot can become the President of the United States and just follow the instructions, follow the directions. Just do what it says in the Constitution. Don't do executive orders. Don't override it. We don't want your opinion on things. Just follow the Constitution, and any freaking idiot can be President of the United States. It's not a tough job, actually. You just follow the directions.
If Trump gets elected, is anything crazy, madness, horrible going to happen? Or is he really just only has so much power, like you said?
There's so much speculation around this. I mean, I guess, for example, I was thinking about it today. If he follows through on what he says he's going to do, I would think a company like Apple would be in severe trouble because they've got hundreds of billions of dollars parked out overseas to avoid tax. And they don't hire anybody in America. They hire slave labor in China. So Trump would, if he follows through on what he's going to say, look, you've got to bring that money back in right now, or we're going to fine you the imputed tax, the equivalent tax, and et cetera. Now, why wouldn't he do that? I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. There's no justification for what Apple does with their balance sheet and with their labor practices. That's completely unjustified. It's completely un-American. So a company like that could find itself under severe stress. Now, of course, that would mean the stock market, NASDAQ and the stock market, if if these types of standards of excellence were applied, would crash because it's been running on dodgy accounting and fraud for 30 years, financed by that bull market in bonds, meaning interest rates have gone cheaper every year for 30 years. Every time you make a mistake on Wall Street, you simply repackage it, resell it, and extend the maturity.
Right.
So that has allowed folks to the situation we have today. There's no law on Wall Street. You go to Lloyd Blankfein or Jamie Dimon and you say, look, you guys committed this fraud, you committed that fraud. They'll say, look, we'll just pay us a fine. We'll put that into our quarterly numbers. We'll finance it on the markets. It's cheaper anyway because interest rates just went down. They're going to negative interest rates. So the cost of fraud is not only at the historic lows, it's getting to the point where they pay you to commit fraud.
Right.
That's what negative interest is all about. Deutsche Bank, one of the most corrupt, nonsensical, bankrupt, insolvent, lunatic organizations, is technically insolvent, but ECB, Mario Draghi, says not only are we going to finance your fraud, we're going to pay you to commit fraud by availing the negative interest rate scenario. So
you're saying Trump will crash the stock market?
Definitely.
Okay.
But so what?
And we're waiting for this correction to happen, and something like Trump coming in and demanding, real accounting practices, moving money back into the states, stop employing Chinese labor could be the thing that triggers things.
Yeah, if he follows through on what he says he's going to follow through on, he wants to audit the Fed. He says, what does that mean? I mean, it just means that the Fed is an institution that runs itself like a hedge fund. It's not designed to be run like a hedge fund. They're leveraged 50, 60, 70 to 1. So any 1% move, 2% move in the underlying value of the assets that they bought to bail out Wall Street would mean they'd have to become totally insolvent in one day, like an Enron. It's like the Federal Reserve Bank is the Enron of Washington, D.C., but much bigger.
I've never
bigger.
I've never heard it put that way, but some very good points there. All right.
I can make good points.
I know.
Occasionally. It's not all about pancakes and cat piss.
And the Business Accelerator program.
All right. And the
business,
now this
and
is
the Bitcoin.
it.
We're going to get that. The final piece here.
How much time do we have?
With independent broadcasters like me, though, will speech be free in Britain sooner than later?
I think the battle for speech is going to continue to be a harshly fought battle, because as the system starts to fail, as it looks like it's entering into another period of fragility and failure, the scapegoats are going to be those folks who have been warning about the problems. So they'll be scapegoated. Kill the messenger.
And
well,
me.
yeah, I mean, like Alex Jones, for example. I say, whenever I talk to Alex Jones, I say, I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing as long as you're alive. So because you're a little bit more on the tip of the spear.
Right.
So when they come for you, they'll be like, well, okay, maybe I'll hang up my microphone.
He's the canary in the coal
You don't
mine.
have to be faster than the bear, just faster than the guy you're with who's running away from the bear.
All right, point made. What's with the Raspberry Pi?
Yeah.
And how does that relate to cryptocurrency?
Central
You got
banks,
5 minutes.
Central banks are crooked. Okay, so I'm going to create my own global, decentralized central bank system with these Raspberry Pis. So we can go on my site, Start Join, right now.
The plug.
And we'll gift you can get for free a pre-ordered, pre-constructed Raspberry Pi that comes complete as a start node, plug and play. You plug it into your home box, plug it in, and we send you Start Coin every week. Free coin every week, $6, $7 worth of coin every single week. This maybe spends $2 a year on electricity. So now I can get these out there globally. I want to get thousands of these all over the world. And of course, when you have these Start Coin, you can then, and we're giving you the free coin, you get the free node at Start Join. If you want information, just write hello@startjoin.com.
Okay,
that's
now,
hello@startjoin. So then once you have all this money in the system,
Yeah.
you can then crowdfund. So if somebody says, I want to start an independent media organization,
Right.
you talk to thousands of people around the world who are getting their coin anyway. You say, I need $10,000, $20,000 to start my media organization, crowdfund it on the site, crank it out there. It's great for the coin. It's great for the ecosystem. It's great for the node business. So it's parallel, decentralized, central banking system, a hybrid of crypto, crowdfunding, and my own take on how to solve the global economic problems.
You sound like the Fed. You're printing money.
Yes,
You're
that's
printing
right.
start coins.
I'm printing cryptocurrency, instead of funny fiat currency, which
Okay.
is
How do you-
ultimately worthless.
Now,
Crypto is worth
for
something.
something. For people that don't understand the crypto market, if I get one of those and say,
Yep.
say I'm my grandma, I'm like, how can you give me $6 or $7 a month in coins that I can use later to start crowdfunding companies? Where does the money come from?
That's right. In the case of Startcoin, it's different than Bitcoin. Startcoin, we have already we have 30 million of these coins, pre-mined coins. So they're just sitting there that we send out to folks through the node program. Bitcoin does not have this cache of pre-mined coins. So it's set up, but people do create what are called faucets, where they put free coins into these faucets and out of the generosity. But it is traded. Startcoin is traded. You can trade it on Bitrex and other platforms. It has a price. It's trading for about 3 pennies a coin. And so
what's the total market cap of Startcoin?
Startcoin is about $1.4 million. Right? So if this works, then I'm sure we go from 3 pennies to $1. That means the coin, that gives us a market cap similar, above Doge. Doge has a market cap, I think, of 20 million.
Okay.
I think we can get above Doge.
Right.
But, everyone has to understand the ecosystem and how it all interrelates with how all the pieces work together.
It's fascinating how the value of these cryptocurrencies can go up by more people understanding the value and using those. And in that way, that its entire value of the whole system can raise because people are using this currency, right?
Well, in the case of Bitcoin, it was initially thought of as not having any value at all. But people then started using it, and now it became a multi-billion-dollar coin, exchange of value.
Right.
So
but that was the first iteration of cryptocurrency.
That's right. He invented it.
It missed some crucial pieces, so we don't know if it's going to survive.
Or like what?
I don't know. It doesn't have nodes. It can't do certain things.
It has nodes.
Okay. The miners. Are there discussions with the miners? Are they squeezing the other people? Are there?
Well, think.
The
miners are like miners in the gold market. Okay. When the price goes down, a lot of miners have trouble.
Okay.
The price goes up, the miners are profitable. There's coming up in July where there's what's called a halving will take place. So the amount of Bitcoins that are issued drops, is halved. So this is a step toward the diminishment of the supply. The supply of issuing the coins is constantly going down. Ultimately, 21 million coins are created, and that's it. That's all that will be created. So it's a finite supply of coins. And it's done to the finance business what Napster and P2P file swapping did to the music industry. So every single bank in the city now has a Bitcoin initiative or a blockchain. Blythe Masters, who was at JP Morgan, she runs...
I know Blythe.
Yeah, it's a blockchain business where she doesn't mention Bitcoin because Bitcoin is decentralized.
Right.
And it's the shit. It's the real deal. Blythe Masters is about centralized, privileged blockchains that is crap, shouldn't exist, that probably won't exist except as a way for banks to cut down on their back office expenses. But as a currency as such, it's a non-starter.
Okay.
But I did battle with Blythe in the silver market a few years ago, and I take responsibility for her being bounced out of JP Morgan. She completely had to cover her shorts in the silver market. They had a horrific loss. And it was covered in the front page of the Financial Times. Now she went over to blockchain business, and I'm going to chase her into the blockchain business as well. She's out. She's gone. She's the Antichrist.
All right, I'm wrapping this up. You got your 1,000th episode coming up on the Keiser Report, somewhere around the election day, maybe somewhere around there.
Well, if everything works out, it'll be on election day. It'll be the 1,000th episode of Keiser Report.
What's the biggest thing on Max Keiser's? Who's in Max Keiser's sights more than the Fed? More than the British media, the British property market? What's the thing where you're like, you know what, in 2017, these guys better look out because this is bullshit?
Oh, well, what's remarkable is that in the last 12 months, the dubbed version of our show in Spanish is now has doubled. We're becoming huge in the Spanish-speaking language. And so if we add both up, English and Spanish, we're definitely the most viewed business and finance show in the world online by a huge factor. And now we're bringing in more dubbed languages for this year. Okay. Arabic probably, Chinese possibly, French. We were all teed up to do French, and then so that's kind of ready to go. So that's what the 2016 is all going to be about: global domination. And I'm going to take my Raspberry Pi, my start nodes. I'm going to take my start nodes. I put one right here, You can
Oh,
plug it
man.
in, and you could be just being send you coins every week into your wallet. And
My
you can,
my sugar daddy, Max Keiser.
you
sending
could
me
buy a plate
shark
of
coins.
pancakes with these coins. You can convert them into Bitcoin, go down to the pancake restaurant, flash the QR code on your smartphone, and you could be looking in front of a stack of hot flapjacks with some bacon, maple syrup right there, thanks to Start Nodes.
And we'll be
Start
taking-
Coin. Start Nodes. You get a free one. Hello at startjoin.com. That's hello at startjoin.com. You get a free one.
And Max Keiser and StartJoin will be joining us on the Business Accelerator program starting next week. 8 weeks. Idea to a product and into a business. You like that?
It sounds great, Brian. I look forward to joining you in that exciting program.
All right, that's it. Max Keiser from the Keiser Report. We talked about Prince. We talked about Trump. We talked about the Fed. And we talked about Bitcoin. What more could you want?
Who's
right?
better on this show than me? Dan Pena.
Dan Pena. Dan Pena coming next on Real Talk. All right, Max, come see us again. Let's book it 4 weeks out. Come see us.
You said
all
that
right?
last time, and then you put me on hold for like 2 weeks.
Like 6 weeks.
Okay,
All right.
your word's no good.
All right, that's it. Real Talk episode 22. We will see you next week. Peace.